So, I have a feeling we're letting down our future. And what I mean by that is schools are closing all around the nation. And here in San Antonio, we are being treated no different. Budget cuts are happening, there's not enough state funding available, and the only people who are suffering are the students going to these schools. Here in Texas, there is a private school voucher system happening, and I feel like we are pushing that agenda. So stay tuned for a special bonus episode of Low Key Thriving.
Woke up, new day, same me. No rush, I'm where I should be. Turn the noise down, see me shining. Low key thriving, low key thriving.
Hi, I'm your host, Mel G. And remember, I'm not a guru, I'm not an expert, I'm not certified to give you anything besides my 2 cents. And today I want to bring awareness to something that's happening here in San Antonio. It has affected my family personally, and that is school closures. If you haven't noticed, schools are closing all around the country. Budget cuts are happening, the funding isn't available, there aren't federal grants available, and if you're here in Texas, a private school voucher system just got pushed, so there is funding for that. A lot of applications have been going in, and it's directly affecting our public school system. My daughter attends Judson Middle School, which if you're here in San Antonio, you've seen it all over the news that they have decided to close that campus. I attended a board meeting where I was able to speak, and this was on Valentine's Day, so February 14th. And it was interesting to hear the public's opinion. There weren't a lot of people in the room. I've seen that online, that the attendance was very low. I would like to say to that this was not publicized very well. When I went on the school board's website, there wasn't anything besides their standard meeting calendar. If I didn't see it on KSAT 12 News that there was going to be a special meeting, I would have not attended myself. The schools didn't put anything out, the district didn't put anything out, the city of Converse didn't put anything out. There was no clear transparency to parents or the community that this was happening, besides what the news outlets put out. Now, I was able to speak at that meeting. I gave my 3-minute speech, and again, it was interesting to hear the community. The majority of folks were for keeping that school open, or at least pausing this process, this vote, until there was more transparency. Parents have been left with so many questions, and it's clear there were 4 teachers there who also had questions. Judson Middle School was home to 750 students, and I believe in that meeting it was said about 450 of those students were walkers, bikers, or their parents drove them to school. So not many bus riders. So now there's a lot of questions. What's transportation going to look like? Does that mean we have to buy more school buses when we're already in a deficit? And I believe the deficit is 37 million. So are we going to add to that by having to buy more school buses? Because apparently what I was hearing at the board is there aren't enough school buses already for the district. So that's question number 1. What's transportation going to look like? Now, my big concern is at middle school age, you're going through so much already. Your body's changing. You can't control your emotions half the time. You're trying to figure out who you are, what you want to be, what you're becoming. You're adjusting to a new school, new groups, because now you've had different elementary schools feed into that middle school. So you're adjusting to new people, new friends, a new environment, a new teaching environment, because now you have 6 classes instead of staying in that one classroom, or 8. So you've got to deal with a whole bunch. So you're dealing with a lot in middle school. And low-key, I don't know about you, but middle school was hell for me. I did not like middle school whatsoever. I was the awkward fat kid. And while I did have an amazing group of friends who I am still friends with today, or still communicate with today. Hey, I see you on Facebook, right? I still see you around. However, we all know how middle school can be. It can be a lot. And nowadays, add on social media, add on the pressures of our parents, add on the fact that we're parents now trying to take care of our parents and trying to raise a family at the same time. It's so much. Now, Judson ISD is also home to many low-income families, so I feel like that affects a lot too. I am a working mama, you've heard me, I'm a corporate girly. I work my 8 to 5 schedule, and I can tell you I have to depend on my village to get my kids to after school activities, pickups from school because I'm not off of work at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. I would have to pay for childcare, which at the moment, to be super transparent, it doesn't work for us. And I can imagine that that's the same for many families. If you look up the stats for what it costs these days just to pay the bills, just to get your mortgage paid, it's kind of ridiculous. And J-Rock and I live very comfortably. However, we're on the struggle bus too. We have ramen nights. We have Chef Boyardee nights. So I can only imagine families that are, really struggling on these low incomes, trying to figure out how they're going to go to work, how they're going to get the kids to school, who's going to pick up their kids from school. What happens if the bus is late, if the bus is early, and especially if you're talking younger kids, right? My daughter's in 6th grade, moving into her 7th grade year. She'll be going to a new campus, which, surprise, surprise, I have no idea what campus that is because the school board has not put out redistricting plans. They have not drawn up lines. As far as I know, there have been 0 plans posted. And that's very frustrating. We are in February. We're a week away from March, and I'm already thinking what I need to do next school year. If it's school of choice, do I need to put in that application? Do I need to go ahead and apply for a private school voucher? There's so much on my mind that it's stressing me out. Like low-key, I've got way too much to deal with, and then you're going to add this on top of that. Very, very stressful. So that's added stress on me, my family, my husband, trying to figure out who's going to pick up the kids, who's going to get them where they need to go. What does this mean for our family? What does this look like? Because the elementary school is also very close, and if I have to move my daughter to a different middle school, we're going 2 different paths when ideally my child could walk to and from school. We live that close. And I'm being super transparent with all of this and rambling a bit because there's so much on my mind, and I've got that undiagnosed ADHD. But all seriousness, I can tell you it's caused definite anxiety in our household. I can tell you the day, which was Monday, the school announced that it was going to be closed, or the news announced it was going to be closed. My daughter's text group, her friends were instantly like, where are we going? What's happening? What are we doing? And I can see the anxiety wash over her face. And as a mother, that's a bit heartbreaking. You're already going through so much. You're already navigating all this change. And now I'm going to throw you into a new school. My daughter is very into athletics. What is that going to look like for her? She's in pre-athletics now. Her coaches are familiar with her, and it was going to be kind of that easy transition into 7th and 8th grade tryouts. Now you're going to throw in moving to a new school. Those coaches may not be familiar. They may not be the same coaches. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to think about. And as a parent, it's very hard when your child comes to you and says, hey, Mom, where am I going? What's the plan? Do I have to ride the bus? I don't want to ride the bus. Can I pick the school I want to go to? Like, what's going to happen to me? And I don't have any of those answers. I tried telling her, hey, honey, we're going to go with the flow. We'll figure it out. I'm trying to remain positive. And low key, we're not about facades or fake it till you make it on this podcast. But sometimes as a parent, we have to put on that mask and we have to be transparent with our children. I'm very transparent. Hey, honey, they haven't put anything out yet. I'm so sorry. I'll keep you updated. Don't worry. Enjoy the remainder of your school year. Enjoy what you have with your friends. Now, I will add as well, in Converse, we are very close to Joint Base San Antonio Randolph Air Force Base. We are a very military-heavy community. When a lot of folks move into town or They get assigned here. They look at the school districts. They look at the proximity of schools to the base. It's very important. I'm ex-military. Now, granted, my father retired a few years after I was born, so I didn't get to experience the travel and the headaches that may take, but I got to hear it from my sisters. I see it from family, because in the military, you depend so much on your village. I've spoke about it before. My mother had her girl group. My mother was kind of stay-at-home mom, did smaller jobs to where she could be at home with us the majority of the time. And I don't have that luxury today. Like, I've got to work. I've got to do my 8 to 5. I've got to be there. And Jonathan works as well. His schedule's a little more demanding than mine is. So we split the time as appropriately as we can. So I can only imagine, as a military family, it may just be you and your husband. You may be completely unfamiliar with your area. You may not have a village yet. And I can only imagine that struggle, especially if you are a family where both parents work. They don't take that into consideration. I know personally, we have military family friends that are attending Judson Middle School, and now they may be going to the school on base. One of those children happens to be my daughter's best friend, and she is quite devastated that she won't have these experiences with her bestie. And I completely understand that. It's a hard transition at 12, 13 years old. Now, something else I wanted to bring up was the fact that there was a gentleman in the board meeting who was for the school closure. And you're welcome to have your opinions. There is no judgment here. I was curious to know, he seemed a bit older, if he even had children going to middle school. The things he was discussing about children being acclimated and him himself being a military brat and having to move schools often and having to adjust to new environments sounds great. Now, when I tell you he was an older gentleman, he was an older gentleman. He may not have gone to middle school for a while. And again, I'm not judging, I'm not shaming, I'm not age discriminating, but think about how we evolved over the times. Think about what it meant. Back then, the 70s, 80s, majority of the time, there was a parent at home. There was a grandparent at home. There was an auntie at home. There was somebody readily available. Think about back in the 50s and 60s. The women weren't expected to work. Somebody was at home with the children. We don't have that luxury anymore. I've mentioned it before. Kids aren't the same. Social aspects aren't the same as it was when I was in middle school. And I'm a millennial. Back then, school wasn't even anywhere close to me, and I used to walk to my middle school. My former middle school has also been closed down. So I'm having a full circle moment. But I think back to what that gentleman said and how I feel like it's very irrelevant to the times. Yes, children are very resilient. Add in if your child has special needs. If they have an IEP, what does that look like? I'm very open. My child is in the dyslexic program. I've seen her, even as she just moved from grade to grade, what that struggle is, what it's like. And I'll talk about it in a later episode about how heavy it is as a parent to not understand what having that disability, that learning difference, whatever you want to call it, I don't know the proper word right now, comes from. But it's hard. It's a struggle. It's a struggle to help your child at home, to get the resources. And now you're going to move all the schools and shuffle, and the paperwork has to change, and you have to do the ARD meetings, and I have to schedule time off to attend those ARD meetings. It's a lot. And there's a lot of chaos around it. And you know I'm about thriving through the chaos. It's just been feeling a little more difficult lately when it doesn't feel like society is on your side. Now, to stand on my soapbox, it's early voting season. We're in the midterm elections. I'm going to call out the mayors of these cities. The mayor of Universal City spoke at the board meeting. I'm not sure where the mayor of Converse stands or the surrounding city, San Antonio, but it's tragic. During that meeting, people were talking about moving out of these small communities. And I was very hesitant. I was very hesitant to move into the district. I heard of the reputation of Judson. However, like I said in my speech, there is this profound legacy around Judson. People have been showing up to football games for decades. I've seen people at games who graduated in 1960 whatever, 1970s, 1980s. I've seen the alumni show up. There's a pride. There's a pride behind this district. There's even a family in my neighborhood who does their entire Christmas lights, their roof is the Judson rocket symbol. To me, that means something. That stands for something. There's pride in that community. Granted, Converse doesn't have the best reputation. However, it's different when you live there and you see how tight of a community it is. You see what goes on. And I've seen the comments on social media, some of them not so kind. Some of them saying, oh, I'm glad they're closing the schools full of YNs, or, kids that don't deserve it. They're unappreciative. Well, I can tell you, most of the time, school is their safe space. School is where they go to feel appreciated. Sometimes school is that outlet. Sometimes these children don't know how to communicate their needs because of their background, because of where they come from. And school can be that safe space for them. And now we're tearing it apart with no plan. There's no plan. I can understand if you close the school and you said, hey, here are the lines. If you're here, you're going to move here. If you're here, you're going to move here. Here's what transportation is going to look like. Here's what moving that IEP is going to look like. Here are the people we are going to contact. We are, March, April, May? We're 3 months away from the school year closing. 3 months for families to plan. 3 months to comfort your children. 3 months to get them prepared for a change that could be drastic for them. There are some kids who are extremely resilient and who are going to work through this and they're going to be successful. And I'm proud of that. But there are some kids who are really going to struggle, and I hope we can find the support for them. Lastly, I want to think about our educators, our admins, the school staff. I have met many of them at Judson Middle School. I've heard them speak at the board meetings, and they were proud. They were concerned. Some of their kids also went to that school, and now they're going to have to change. Now they're going to have to find a completely new job. They're going to have to be hired somewhere else. And again, the gentleman who was for the school closure mentioned, oh, it's fine. The teacher to student ratio will be okay. There's laws set in place. That's great. I know those laws have set in place, but I'm also a parent who has 2 children in an elementary school and now 1 child in middle school. And I can tell you sometimes those classroom ratios are tight. When they pack that 1 to 24, 1 to 21, or even a teacher's aide. I have a pre-kindergarten student. Her teacher has an aide. And I still sometimes, I can't imagine how they do it with the 18 children, I believe, that are in my daughter's classroom. And that might not be the exact number, don't quote me. But I think it's close to that. And it's still rough. There's a lot going on at that age. So imagine middle schoolers who are dealing with all the things, and you've got 1 teacher to maybe 18 preteens. You're dealing with the social, you're educating them. You're having to scrub 6, 7 off the desks. There's so much. There is so much as an educator, as a teacher, that you have to deal with in the school world. And then you have to go home to your life. And you have to go home and grade 40 papers. You have to go home and think and process what maybe this child may have confided in you, what they're dealing with outside of school, or what they're dealing with inside of school. You see all the things, right? You see all the things, and you have to navigate that. You have to take that home with you because that's your job. And now you have a school board, a district that's like, we're cutting you off. There's change. You have to think about what's best for your family. So not only are we going to lose students, we're going to lose educators. Some educators don't care. They think it's a job. But I know many educators who have chosen this profession because they truly care about raising the future. They truly care about shedding light, sharing history, about being somebody to someone. Think Dangerous Minds, okay? There are educators out there who were like Michelle Pfeiffer, who really cared for these students, who really wanted to see them thrive in society. We are letting our students down. We're letting our kids down, the future down. These are kids who may be future senators, future teachers, future basketball players. They're our future nurses, future doctors. And if we fail them now, at their foundation, what precedent are we setting? So I'm going to hop off my soapbox and I'm going to ask the community to be loud. Now is the time to be loud. Now is the time to be heard. Do it in a sophisticated way. Do it in a low-key way that doesn't get you arrested or put in handcuffs. But be there. Advocate for these children who don't really understand what's going on, who are behind the scenes, who depend on adults to advocate for them. Our leaders, the people we have voted for, I urge you to stand up for your communities. I urge you to look around and see what's happening. I urge you to ask for transparency. Where is the money going? Where is the bleed out? The bond passed a year or two ago. Where did those funds go? What's going to happen to the new air conditioning unit we just placed in Judson Middle School? What's going to happen to these buildings? Are they going to bring in more crime, vandalism? Or is it going to be something more positive for the community? Are we making this a community center? What can we do as a community to provide for our future? Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for caring. And low-key, I hope you are heard. I hope you are seen. And I hope we continue to stand up for what's right. If this episode hit with you, I urge you to share, like, and engage in the comment section. I will share my email. Please reach out to me with any concerns or anything you would like to say. I'm working on bringing in guests for the podcast. Spoiler alert. So stay tuned for that as well. Thank you again. And low-key, stay thriving through the chaos. We got this, right? Okay, bye.